What's going on, everyone? Baz here, and today I will be doing my final Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft. This is version 11.0, as we are finally one day away from the draft. Before we get this video started, if you aren't subscribed already, please consider subscribing if you are enjoying my videos. It helps out my channel a ton. So for today's final mock draft, I'm going to try to make it as realistic as possible. I'm going to draft like I am Brian Gutekunst. I'm going to draft players that scream Packers to me, and just in general try to pull off a Packer-like mock draft. I'm going to try to make it realistic, like I said. I'm also going to be using a trade value draft chart that assigns numbered values to certain picks to try to make trades more realistic. And then also, if players like Walker Little fall to the 4th round, Jalen Darden to the 6th, or even Tay Gowan to the 6th, I'm not going to take those players. It's just unrealistic. So I'm really going to try to stick with normality here. So when I make certain selections posing as the Packers, and you think it might be a dumb pick, just remember, in previous drafts, we've definitely looked at some of the Packers picks and went, that's a dumb pick. Sometimes they turn to be a dumb pick, sometimes they turn out not to be. So just with that in mind, know that's what I'm doing. As for Packers draft news, one day before the draft, there was some news that came out today that Packers are really looking into Rashad Bateman. They're at pick 29, or potentially moving up for Rashad Bateman. Definitely receiver I do like, and it would be a great thing to have him in the Packers offense, so definitely going to keep that in mind as I pick here at 29. So without further ado, let's bring the draft screen up right now, and we are still using the Draft Network for our final mock draft, so let's just get this thing started and get these first 5 picks out of the way. Should go as normal. Mac Jones to the Niners. Okay, so Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Kyle Pitts to the Falcons. I think honestly, the Falcons may take a quarterback here, might take Lance, or team would trade up to the Falcons pick that wants Trey Lance, unless the 49ers take Trey Lance. But the slide that Justin Fields is having is I don't agree with it. I think he should be the 3rd pick here, but hey, it happens. All right, and getting this draft resumed here, get the next 5 picks out of the way, as I will not be trading up into the top 10. Packers are definitely not doing that. We have Jamar Chase going to the Dolphins, Waddle to the Lions, Slater to the Panthers, Trey Lance to the Broncos, and Surtain to the Cowboys. So everything looking pretty normal as of now. Fields still on the board, like I said. J.C. Horn still here, Micah Parsons, Darisaw. There's still a lot of good players on here. It looks like Devonta Smith's kind of falling a little bit. I think teams are definitely going to be scared of his size, but he produced, so that outrules the size most of the time. But it depends what he's going to do in the NFL level. All right, so getting the next few picks out of the way, Parsons goes, J.C. Horn, Darisaw, Jalen, Phillips, and Devonta Smith falls all the way to 15. I would say if Devonta Smith fell to 18, 19, there could be a potential trade up factor there, but went 15 here. Jalen Phillips, definitely an interesting player here to the Vikings at 14. Looking at the remaining players, Fields still here. I could see him falling. Maybe this far, but I think a team would trade up for him at this point, or the Patriots would have taken him at 15. But Vera Tucker's still here, Barmore, Kwity Paye. Jamin Davis, wow, he is flying up boards. He's now the TDN's 20th ranked player over Zaven Collins and all these players. And JOK fell all the way to 30, so it looks like the board's kind of, doing its own thing, evening out. And some players are falling, some are rising. Leatherwood, he's rising. I really like him. I see him going before the Packers pick, or maybe the Packers pick. But right now, there's a lot of players available, so I'm going to go ahead and resume. Vera Tucker, Leatherwood, as I say, Leatherwood, he goes. Jamin Davis, and Fields goes all the way to the Bears. Ugh. Why can't... Nah, the Bears would totally draft Kyle Trask there, not Fields. Come on, let's be real. So as of right now, I really don't see the need to exactly trade up. I like Barmore, so that would be a player that maybe you could trade up to 21 for. Same with Greg Newsome. But Tevin Jenkins is still on the board. Elijah Moore, Zaven Collins, which I don't think the Packers would draft Zaven Collins. Caleb Farley, just an interesting player there, because I don't know if the Packers medical team would allow the Packers to draft Caleb Farley, although I really like him. JOK is definitely an interesting one. I feel the Packers would be interested in him at 29. They'd definitely be interested at Trayvon Merrick, I feel. And Rashad Bateman, obviously, I said they are looking into him more. So a lot of players still here. Tony, Cosme, Terrace Marshall's falling a decent bit. But a lot of players are still here. You could trade up at 21 here for this to grab one of your guys, and Greg Newsome or Christian Barmore. But I think I might let it ride and see if one of them fall a little bit more. Going to resume here, and Newsome goes. Tevin Jenkins, Kwity Paye, Landon Dickerson at 24 to the Steelers. Barmore still sitting here at 18. I still think I'm going to let it ride. There's Elijah Moore, like I said, Caleb Farley, JOK, Bateman, and Merrick still here. So there's still like 4 or 5 players I really do like, and I think are options for the Packers. So I'm going to go ahead and let this ride. Elijah Moore goes, Caleb Farley, Rashad Bateman. Oh, man. Okay. Going to go ahead and pause, and Zaven Collins goes. So right now, in my honest opinion, the Packers could draft Joe Tryon here. But we still have JOK, Trayvon Merrick, Christian Barmore on the board here. All right, so with this pick, Barmore's still sitting here. He's our 18th ranked player. I do believe he'll be gone before 29, but if he were to fall to 29, I feel the Packers couldn't pass up the opportunity of pairing Kenny Clark with someone like Christian Barmore. I was really tempted to take JOK here, but I just don't know if the Packers are going to draft a linebacker at the top of the first. I just really don't see it. Or sorry, the bottom of the first. So I just really don't see it. And like I said, I don't know if they're going to be able to pass up drafting Christian Barmore here at 29. So in that case, I think the Packers in this scenario would draft Christian Barmore here at pick 29. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and resume the draft, and Tyron goes right after Kadarius Toney. Merrick goes, Najee Harris, Sam Cosmi. Okay, I was going to say JOK keeps falling. I might have to think about trading up, but that's what I would do. So I couldn't necessarily do that. I got to think what the Packers would do here. Terrace Marshall's still here. Creed Humphrey. I think they definitely do want a lineman. Next would be one of their picks. Verdun's is still here. Javon Holland's here. Corner and Asante Samuel. A lot of players still available, so I'm going to go ahead and let this ride and see who goes next. Terrace Marshall goes, Creed Humphrey, Stokes, Kelvin Joseph, Eichenberg, Basham, Baron Browning, Peyton Turner, Levi O, David Mills to the Patriots. And the Raiders want to trade 62 for 48 and 4. I would give up a 4th round. So I'm going to look at the draft chart and see if that's even applicable. So going by the draft value chart, the Raiders are giving up more value than we'd be giving, so I'm going to go ahead and decline that trade and pause this just in case I do want to trade up. Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne. Don't know if the Packers are going to draft another running back in the 2nd round. I'd hope not. Definitely not out of the park, but I hope not. Rondale Moore here. I don't know if necessarily the Packers would look at Rondale Moore due to his size and injury concerns, although he would be a great gadget player in the Packers offense. But I just don't know if the Packers would necessarily look at him. We have Aaron Robinson here, who's definitely an interesting corner. Asante Samuel, Dimey Brown, Jabril Cox. There's Jamar Johnson. There's a lot of players. Tommy Tremble, who is pretty much a lot of people think the Packers might draft. Elijah Molden is still here. Tommy Togiai, which we already got our defensive lineman. But as for receivers, Duane Eskridge and Nico Collins. Nico Collins screams Packers, so he might be an option there in our 3rd round if we have to trade up a little bit. But as of right now, we're not that far away, about 14 picks away, so might let it ride, but if someone pops out, I might have to trade. We will see. So Wyatt Davis goes Aaron Robinson. I was looking at Aaron Robinson, but with Asante Samuel sitting here at 60, he is the next corner on the board. Elijah Molden still here, then Ifeatu Melifonwu, who screams Packers. Tyson Campbell's still here. So I wouldn't be mad with either Asante Samuel or Ifeatu Melifonwu. So I think I'm going to resume it here. Amari Rodgers goes to the football team. Dylan Verdun's to the Bears. Christensen to the Titans. Rondale Moore to the Colts. We're close enough where I might just try to let it ride and grab either Jabril Cox, Asante Samuel, or an edge here, Gregory Rizzo here, Joseph Asai. Might let this resume here and just see how this goes. I don't feel the need to necessarily trade. And in that case, Asante Samuel fell to 62, which I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. It might due to his size, but you know, you just look at how his dad played, and I think Asante Samuel Jr. is pretty much like a clone of his dad physically. So if he, you know, plays anywhere near his dad, he's going to be a successful player. And to grab him here at 62 and kind of help the Packers issue at corner, he doesn't have to start right away. You know, he'll be a great corner that can come in and learn the system and pretty much learn under Kevin King's going to start right away. But It would just be great to get him in the room and then, develop him and potentially be that starting outside corner out opposite side of Jair Alexander. But then the question remains, would the Packers actually draft Asante Samuel? They met with him twice, so I would believe they at least have some interest in him. And if he were to fall to 62, I don't see why they would pass him up if they didn't draft a corner in the first round. I don't think they're going to draft a corner in the first round. I think they're going to go offensive line, defensive line, potentially linebacker, potentially wide receiver. But if he's here at 62, which I don't know if he's going to be, but if the draft falls just like this, the Packers met with him twice. They have need at corner in terms of future years, so I think it's really hard to pass up. I wouldn't be surprised if it fell like this and the Packers still ended up drafting someone like Tommy Tremble here. But with this pick, I am going to go Asante Samuel Jr., cornerback out of Florida State at pick 62. Now, letting the draft resume, Dyami Brown goes right after. I might try to trade up for one of these wide receivers. I'm not exactly sure if I should. I was thinking about Nico Collins if he fell to like 75, but he went here at 69. We still have Duane Eskridge, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not necessarily sure the Packers would draft Equanimeous' brother and then pretty much have to cut Equanimeous for his brother. That would be kind of intense. But Tommy Tremble's still here. Quinn Minor's still here. Jalen Mayfield, who I don't really like, but it's someone the Packers may like, is still here. Ifeatu Melifonwu, we already got our corner, but wouldn't put it past the Packers to draft two. Jackson Carman and Spencer Brown are still here. And Stone Forsythe. So definitely three tackles the Packers might be looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and resume this draft. I might trade up here for Duane Eskridge if he falls to 76 here with the Giants. So we can hope on that. Okay, so I think I'm going to attempt to trade up here with the Giants. I'm going to see the value chart and see if it's, even worth it to trade up here to 76. So I am indeed going to trade up to grab Duane Eskridge, grab a wide receiver that can play in the slot, can return kicks, which we desperately need. I think the Packers could definitely draft Duane Eskridge. I really like him as a vertical threat out of the slot, probably the best vertical threat out of the slot in this year's draft, potentially. So giving up a third, a fourth, and a sixth is pretty close on value. The Giants giving up, obviously, pick 76, so we're moving up a decent bit. I'm going to go ahead and send it. It says very likely on here, so there should be no issue with them accepting it on here, which they do. And then with that, I am indeed going to draft Duane Eskridge, wide receiver out of Western Michigan, with pick 76 here. All right, so now letting the draft resume. Just going to let our picks go by here. A couple guys I do like. Quinn Miners, Elijah Molden, Campbell, Amon-Ra St. Brown goes, Stone Forsythe. Definitely need to be looking at offensive line here. I think the Packers do usually do really well in the fourth round for offensive line. So I wouldn't be mad if they waited till the fourth round to draft an offensive lineman. So it is our pick again here at 135. And at the top of the board, we do have three defensive linemen in Jay Tufele, Lee McNeil, a player I really like, and Jalen Twyman. But we did already draft Barmore, and we have more pressing needs at something like offensive line. The Packers do have a gap at center. Lucas Patrick could play there. Elton Jenkins could play there. But generally speaking, the only true center we have is Jake Hansen, rookie last year out of Oregon, who we didn't see play at all. But the Packers did draft three linemen last year. And Jake Hansen, Simon Stepniak, and John Runyon Jr. So it's hard to say they're just going to give up on those guys and go ahead and draft a lineman super early. Now, if someone like Tevin Jenkins were to fall to 29, you can't really pass that up. But to say they're just going to give up on their three linemen they put their trust in and drafted last year is kind of interesting. But I definitely do think drafting a lineman, say, in the fourth round, like we are here at 135, is definitely a decent idea. And someone who's sitting on the board right here is Drew Dahlman out of Stanford. The plug-and-play center could start at center for us eventually. Could even start, day one. But definitely an interesting prospect here at 135. Another thing is why I see Drew Dahlman being a great fit with the Packers is he has great movement skills. Now his size, he's a little bit undersized, but he has great football IQ. He has great movement skills. His run blocking is great. He's in a zone scheme. I think he's a very good fit for the Packers, especially with their potential need at center. I think he fits right in with the Green Bay offensive line. And I think it would be perfect for him if they were to draft him, for him to come into training camp, have some competition at center, and potentially win that starting center job, allowing Elton Jenkins to stay at left guard. Potentially allowing John Runyon or Lucas Patrick to be that right guard. And then depending on whatever happens with Bakhtiari's injury, Billy Turner playing left tackle or right tackle. And then, of course, Lucas Patrick could end up moving to right tackle or Runyon Jr. and just to fill in for a little bit, or even Stepniak. We don't have any idea what Stepniak's going to turn into. Hopefully something great. But with this pick at 135, going to draft Drew Dahlman, center out of Stanford. So here we are at pick 173, and a player that is sticking out at me is Jonathan Cooper, edge player out of Ohio State. I think the Packers definitely do need to draft an edge player. This guy can definitely get the quarterback. Now, he did primarily play a 4-3 defensive end in the Ohio State defense, but I think he has the athletic ability to be a 3-4 outside linebacker. He's 6'4", 257. He had an 88.0 PFF rating last year with 3 sacks, 8 hits, 22 hurries, a pass rush grade of 90.4, and a pass rush win rate percentage of a 20.7, which is extremely high. I think this guy would be a great, edge rusher for the Packers, a late down type of player you put in there just to go get the quarterback. His RAS score is a 7.61. He had an elite grade at his size with his 40, running a 4.71, which gave him a 8.6 RAS score. So overall, definitely a player I think the Packers might be interested in. So at this point, at pick 173, I'm going to go ahead and draft an edge player, and that is Jonathan Cooper out of Ohio State. So now it is our pick again, right after here at 178, and a player that's screaming Packers to me is Simi Fahoko, wide receiver out of Stanford, 6'4", 227, an RAS score of a 9.17, ran a 4.40. That's pretty wild, him being 6'4" and running a 4.40, just screams Packers wide receiver. We already did draft one wide receiver in Duane Eskridge, but I believe he's 5'9", more of that slot, vertical threat slot receiver, returner role. Simi Fahoko would be that outside receiver, tall, lanky, fast receiver that the Packers love to draft. Now, he doesn't have much experience here at Stanford. I believe he only has 62 career catches, but he's that type of player that shows the physical ability. That could be something great. You get him into the building, you let him learn the offense, you let him earn rapport with Aaron Rodgers. And as I say, every time I draft a wide receiver, the Packers do not have a single wide receiver under contract for 2022. So them drafting 2 wide receivers in this draft is a pretty much, sure thing at this point, in my opinion. Imator Bebe's still here, Josh Palmer and Shi Smith and Anthony Schwartz. But I think out of all those, Simi Fahoko out of Stanford screams Packers the most with that RAS score, that height, that speed, and that potential. So with pick 178, I'm going Simi Fahoko, wide receiver out of Stanford. All right, so now we're up in the 6th round at pick 220. And as much as I would love to draft someone like Jalen Darden, even though we already have 2 wide receivers, or someone like Tay Gowan here at corner, I don't believe there's any way they're here in the 6th round. So like I said, I'm going to try to keep this realistic and draft people that I believe would be here in the 6th round. And one of which I really like in the Packers offense is Puka Williams, running back out of Kansas. I think 6th round is great for the Packers in terms of running back. I believe they should draft a running back in the 6th round. They definitely need a third guy, someone who can kind of fill that Swervin Irvin role. And I think Puka Williams could do it better than Tyler Irvin, better than Tavon Austin, both players they had last year running it. I believe he can run it better than both of them. He's 5'10", 170 pounds, ran a 4.46 40. He's a great route runner out of the backfield. He has really, really good angle routes out of the backfield. Could even play slot if you really needed him to. He only has 1 career drop, and I think, as I said before, he would fit into that jet sweep motion type running back that Tyler Irvin was and do it better. He's a pure scat back, and I just really like the thought of him in the Matt LaFleur offense. So with pick 220 here, I am indeed going Puka Williams, running back out of Kansas. So here we are picking our last pick. We are at pick 256. We are picking Mr. Irrelevant, and I don't know a better pick for Mr. Irrelevant than Rashad Wild Goose, corner out of Wisconsin. Pretty fast, nimble corner, quick cut speed, great hips. It could definitely be a developmental guy for the nickel spot in the Packers defense. Now, he does have some injury history and little starting experience, so seeing him here in the 7th round isn't a surprise. He could end up being an undrafted free agent. But with the last pick in the draft at 256, Mr. Relevant, I'm going to give it to a boy out of Wisconsin, Rashad Wild Goose Jr., nickel corner, and finish up our draft with him. All right, so now that the draft is done, we can go over to the picks that I made, picks that I thought the Packers would make at that certain spot, how that draft laid out. So let's dive right into it. At pick 29, I had to draft Christian Barmore. He fell to 29. He is climbing up boards. I don't know if he's going to get to 29, but if he were to fall to 29 and the way that draft board sat, I don't think the Packers could, in the right mind, pass up Christian Barmore, pair him up with Kenny Clark, add a lot more talent to that defensive line room, and just sure that whole position up. At 62, Asante Samuel ended up falling to us. I don't think he's going to hit 62, but if he did, I don't see the Packers passing him up. They've met with him twice. He could be that transition corner because Kevin King's obviously going to start, so he could be that transition guy, get him snaps when it needed be. Obviously, Kevin King hasn't been the healthiest player over his career, so drafting someone like Asante that might have to go in, say, week 4, week 5 after an injury to Kevin King, you never know. And I think eventually he could become that opposite corner, Jair, that has the same demeanor. Now, obviously, they're both smaller corners, him and Jair would be, but they both have that, aggressive demeanor, play the ball, get in your face type corner. And I really like him, and him falling to 62 was a no-brainer. Then we traded up to 76 to grab Duane Eskridge, the 5'9" vertical threat receiver, could definitely play out of the slot. I think the Packers really need someone like him, especially considering he can return kicks and he's good at it. The Packers haven't had a true kick returner probably since Micah Hyde. I think that's the last kick returner that returned one for a touchdown in 2012 or 13. I think 2013 against the Vikings. So it's been a while. It's been a while since the Packers had a true good kick returner. And I know you might be thinking, hey, why would you draft a kick returner at 76? Well, Duane Eskridge is more than that. Very, very fast player. Like I said, could play out of the slot, a great vertical threat. Senior Bowl, really killed it at his Senior Bowl. Overall, just really like the prospect of the Packers drafting Duane Eskridge here. Then at pick 135, we go with a very true fit to the Packers, and that is Drew Dalman, center out of Stanford. A little bit undersized, but a very quick on his feet center, just like Corey Linsley. Has great football IQ. I think he really screams Packers. He's good in his zone scheme. He was at Stanford. He's a great run blocker. A little shaky in pass blocking, but definitely can be worked on and coached up. And I think he could challenge to be a starting center come next year in training camp with players like Jake Hansen and obviously the two guards and Ellen Jenkins and Lucas Patrick that could end up playing center. So keeping them out at guard would be ideal. So Drew Dahlman could essentially be our starting center. Then at pick 173, I drafted edge Jonathan Cooper. I think it's important to get edge in this draft, and I think the Packers should think that too because they do have some holes coming into next year at edge. Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith are going to be nearing 20 million cap hit each, so there's no way each of those guys are going to be kept at those numbers. Preston Smith is probably going to end up being cut, and Zadarius Smith's probably going to end up being extended. They definitely need another rotational, go get the quarterback type pass rusher, and Jonathan Cooper is exactly that. They do have Randy Ramsey, but Jonathan Cooper could be another guy to go get the passer. You can never have enough of them. He did play primarily defensive end at a 4-3 in Ohio State, but I think he could transition to a 3-4 edge rusher. He has the athleticism to do so. Then at pick 178, another player that just screams Packers to me, Simi Fahoko, 6'4", has great speed. His speed to size ratio is unreal. Very, very limited experience here at Stanford. I think 62 career catches, like I said, when I drafted him. But he definitely screams Packers and is definitely a player that I could see the Packers drafting here right around 178. They already got their small, shifty, speedy slot receiver. So getting another receiver, which I think is definitely going to happen, and someone like Simi Fahoko, a taller, nimble, fast receiver that they always like to draft, definitely screams Packers here at set 178. Then at 220, I went ahead and drafted Puka Williams, running back out of Kansas. Again, another player that I think screams Packers, and that's kind of what I wanted to go with this draft was, hey, do these players scream Green Bay Packers to you? If they do, yes, draft them, because I want to try to make this realistic. This is my last mock draft. I want to try to make it like the Packers, so I went Puka Williams here, a shifty scat back, definitely third running back in our room. Could run that Tyler Ervin role with the jet sweeps, motions, all that. He's, like I said, a small, shifty scat back, and then catch the ball out of the backfield, can play slot, has great angle routes, so I really like him here at 220 to take over that Tyler Ervin role. Then at 256 with Mr. Relevant, I went Rashad Wildgoose Jr., cornerback out of Wisconsin. Definitely a developmental guy, but has the speed, has the shiftiness, doesn't have the experience at many starts there at Wisconsin. So definitely developmental guy, could come in and be a future at nickel corner for the Green Bay Packers. So overall, that is my draft and my final mock draft, version 11.0. I want to hear down in the comments what you think about it. Now, like I said, keep in mind, I was drafting to kind of be like the Packers. So if some of these picks, you're like, oh, I don't know about that. We always think that when the Packers draft. So if that's the case, I think I nailed it. But I'm interested to see what you think down in the comments. What do you think about some of these players, getting Asante Samuel at 62? What do you think about Simi Fahoko, Puka Williams, Duane Eskridge? Let me know in the comments down below. and if there's any other players at those spots that you would have drafted over some of these guys. As I mentioned before, I will be live streaming the NFL draft. I'm definitely streaming tomorrow and Friday. I might be able to stream rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday, but definitely try to make it to my live stream tomorrow for the NFL draft, starting at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Going to be streaming throughout the entirety of the first round, talking, having fun, talking about the draft, and hopefully seeing the Packers draft someone that we all want and will help this football team a lot. So that's about going to do it. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Wednesday afternoon. And as always, go Pack Go.